Flo and Blaise in Iwakuni. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you for having us.
It's great to have you again. So I was reminded, of course, researching for this talk, that you guys were in the very first episode.
I had
And
totally forgotten about that.
with Thomas Klepfer, the farmer, John in Tokyo, who does urban farming, and Felix was translating. And
Yeah.
then we followed up again in June, so exactly 1 year ago. So it's so nice to catch up again now. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I always love your photos on Instagram, and it's great to hear about your progress. So first, let me show this. You sent so many amazing photos.
Sorry.
Now,
Choose.
now this is your garden. Let me see. In the first year, so right when you came to that house, tell us what the situation was. Remind us if we have a new audience here.
Sure. And well, as it turns out, something new that we found out since we last spoke, in pandemic times, our neighbors come by when we're in the garden and talk to us. It seems that a cousin of a neighbor used to live here. And in our garden space, there used to be like a really luxe Japanese style garden with a pond and a big old pine tree that was supposed to be beautiful.
Yeah, there was a lot of rock structures, concrete structures, decorative objects, and then those were cleared by basically being destroyed and then buried in the dirt.
Well, I don't know if they were destroyed, but they were definitely cleared. And
But that often happens in Japan, doesn't it? Before they want to rent out somewhere or
right.
even sell it, they are more likely to just raise everything right down to nothing and put gravel in because somehow that's seen as more attractive, maybe less work, right?
Well,
Not for us in the end, but yeah, it was just all gravel.
I found that most Japanese don't like vegetation in their yard at all. I mean, when we came in, they had it completely covered with the black sheets, and there was no, well, the weeds weren't even growing. And then as soon as we took that sheet off, well, they came back to life.
Right?
Yeah,
Sometimes when I talk to my neighbors as well, I think, why do they hate nature so much? You know, like they
well,
just
it's
they would
controlled nature
love
they
they
love.
would love just concrete and sweep up all the leaves and very controlled nature. But
Yeah.
what you guys have created is just stunning. Are the neighbors enjoying it now that they've seen the transformation?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, they definitely come by and uh, yeah. For one example, is we live on a hill, and there's this one lady that for the first year or so, she would always just grunt up the hill, walking up and like making these noises. And then after a year or so, now she's like kirei and stops. So and then Blaze, his mother knows some people in the neighborhood, and they say they talk about it.
Yeah, we have neighbors come over. They're surprised that there's just edible stuff in their yard, in the yard. So they're used to having some kind of pine or very specific flowers in pots along the walls, or if there is trees or anything in the yard, it's more decorative, nothing practical. So the fact that a couple weeks ago we had a couple of local ladies walk through our yard, and they were surprised at how much food we were able to grow in that little area.
Yeah, we invited them in to walk around, and they were like, "Oh, you're growing this and that and this and that, and what is that?"
Yeah,
fun.
you guys are growing a lot of food. It's really impressive. I think we talked about it last time. Did you have a plan, like exactly what you wanted to grow at what time of year, or did it just come at a whim or from what's available in the garden center?
All the above.
All the above.
Yeah, I wanted to grow herbs because I already had some herbs. We came here with a lavender plant, a rosemary plant, and a biwa plant, um, and oregano. A couple of things I used to have at the old apartment, and maybe from even when I lived in Hiroshima. Um, And beyond that, no plan. And then yes to what's available at the garden center. And then once I discovered some websites that sell plants, what was available on there as well.
Well, you also have these beautiful baskets filled with your decorations. Tell me about your mandala design
Oh,
hobby. That's
uh,
gorgeous.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I just like to play with the plants basically. And yeah, I don't know. It's very like just being out in the garden is already very peaceful, right? Well, calming um, overall. Um, and then just playing with the flowers and arranging them in designs is I just makes me happy. I'll do it for hours and hours, as Blaise can attest to.
She's gonna do the rainbows for you. I'm gonna tell you this right now. This time of season,
Yes.
no, it hurts. There's so many mosquitoes.
Yeah. The calm is like in the winter or something, but right now I can't go out there without being fully covered. Long sleeves, button, towel around my neck, button to the neck, a hat on. I had a mosquito net on the other day, and I have to wear gloves. If I don't wear gloves, then I get bitten on my hands. Long sleeves. I wore winter socks out there because they'll bite me through my socks. Long pants. Yeah, it is
Is
actually not very
are
calm.
there too many mosquitoes out there right now to give us a little walkthrough?
Oh gosh, yes, I'm not
It's
covered.
too many. Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
like seriously, I fully like hazmat up to get out there.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's one of those bittersweets. You can get your harvest. You can take care of plants. They're very healthy and green right now, and there's a lot of other healthy, wildlife out there that don't want you there. Yeah, they are ruthless.
I'm just gonna go back real quick to when you asked me about the plan. I also did I have a plan for the garden. One thing I did have a plan for was I wanted it to be pollinator friendly. That was a definite intent. Anyway.
Yeah, I see that you have some beautiful pictures of butterflies and the birds and some caterpillars. Of course, you have to find that happy balance, right, between the caterpillars and the bugs eating your food that you want to eat versus, the pollinators that you want to support, right?
Right. Grubs, Blaise is in charge of. They don't do anything good for our garden, and he takes care of them. I figure that if we pull off the caterpillars and they can live on top of our compost pile on whatever they were chewing on, that's cool.
I'm not as friendly.
Blaise doesn't kill the caterpillars that I say not to kill.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about compost for a minute. Tell us how you're doing the compost, because last time we talked, that was a really important part of your garden system, right?
Yeah, we're making the compost tea, and that seems to be working really well for us. We have basically a huge trash can that we are using with the the what is it, the coso? No,
it's just an enzyme.
It's an enzyme. Yeah.
So the trash can bucket that she's referring to is a commercial composting bin that has a spigot on the bottom to release the tea. So with that, we fill that up with regular kitchen scraps that get constantly put in there every day, and then so every couple days we cover it with enzyme, and then more compost, and then that one has a limit to how much you can put in. So once the tea's done making, then that will go on our composting area.
We have a raised bed.
We're frozen.
Oh, are we frozen?
Oh shoot! You guys look okay to me.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
We're stuck.
We're stuck
on the screen.
Yeah. Okay.
But so we do have a 1 by 1 meter squared off area that we use it was a planter box, and then right now it has all of our yard scraps in it, any of the clovers that we basically when the lawn is cut, we collect those up, any weeds that are pulled up, any cuttings from the
Everything
plants.
goes in there.
Yeah, everything goes in there, and then that will be churned, and well, that is actual compost pile, and then that will turn into fertilizer or covering for the other areas in the future.
We've lifted that out and used it for the bottoms of new beds before, and we do add cardboard to that, and turn it right whenever it needs to be turned.
And you had, when I visited, I think it was around last year when I visited as well, and you had these raised beds and you were doing compost in different areas depending on heat. You guys had it really down to a great science and you attributed it to lots of YouTube videos. Is that right?
YouTube is basically, our entire garden is based off of some kind of YouTube video with various links, and if we go to a different website, it was basically a suggested from one of those videos. So yeah.
Blaise is a little bit more about the YouTube videos these days than I am. I'm using, like, I'll look up a specific plant and look up when I should be pruning it and when I should be sowing seeds or where it should be planted.
But I think we've run our course on certain videos unless it's absolutely new information. Our biggest thing so far is, well, lessons learned type thing from the years, the short period of time we've been here. We know that certain plants will not grow in certain parts of the yard. Why? We don't know. But they don't. And we've had some surprising successes and some surprising failures. But I think that slowly we'll find out what will grow in certain areas and then increase productivity.
Is that consistent? Like the same things don't seem to work, but by season they'll be okay? Or is it just location, like how much sun and water they're getting?
I believe it's the way the sun comes over our house, because we do have other houses in the area. And then in the summer, the whole garden technically gets full sun during the summer, but even still, they react differently. Like we had okra plants, and where they were last year, we found that they were heavily attacked by ants and critters throughout the growing season. And then this year, they seem completely clean. And really, they have been planted and pruned and taken care of the same exact way. But this, in the current location, I believe it gets more sun, or it's not in the other last year was kind of in a corner where it seemed to have a little bit more humidity, and I think that made a big difference.
Yeah, basically what's become our compost, permanent compost bed, is because nothing will grow there really well. And then last year we had no, we do not know. It's not determined. It's only been 2 seasons. I think we're still rotating things out and seeing. We do know potatoes will grow anywhere.
Yeah, you guys seem to have a real bountiful harvest for tomatoes and potatoes and lots of fruit. You guys were growing a lot of fruit, right? How did that go?
I think it's going to keep on getting better. We realized, Blaise realized that we had to cull our raspberry plants. I didn't know. Did you know that because raspberries are called ki ichigo? Do you know why?
No.
Because ichigo, strawberries, they grow with runners, right? But raspberry plants, instead of the runners being on the ground, they grow under the ground. So a new plant, like instead of a new plant appearing on top of the ground like with strawberries, raspberries send out suckers under the ground and grow up a new plant from there. And so when you have too many of those happening, then you don't end up with as much fruit. So Blaise went and got badly bitten by mosquitoes and pulled out 13 of those, and we managed to give those away. And
so at first, when I thought it was just growing, turning into a
we just thought it was a big old plant.
But it ended up being that there was anywhere from 10 to 20 new plants that were too tightly packed, so they wouldn't fruit. They were just taking up area.
So now that we've culled that, and we put about half of what we culled onto the compost pile, and we're getting raspberries every day. And the blueberries, we realized that we needed two root blueberry plants. A little slow on that, but yeah, now we have two blueberry plants, and we'll have blueberries this later this summer, I think. And also trying for passion fruit, trying for goji berries, and gooseberries and hozuki, which are ground cherries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, it looks like you're also growing some things in pots. So, why would you choose to grow things in pots versus put it in the ground? Or do you do anything in the ground directly, or do you choose raised bed? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'll take that one. So this year we have increased our pepper selections.
Oh yeah.
So last year our hot peppers included like the Asian chilies, the Japanese takanotsume, and that was about it for. But this year we were like, let's grow some different ones, and then we planted some seeds, and they didn't seem to take. And then Flo ordered some from an online store, and then we found some at a DIY, and we ended up with like 9 different types of hot peppers, and we're like, well, this ain't good because peppers cross pollinate, and then so if you have a regular green pepper and a spicy pepper next to it, well, one turns spicier than it's supposed to, and the other one turns milder than what it's supposed to, and then they change. Well, to prevent that in the best way possible, started separating them with the pots, and that's how that started. And then, we have some extra room, and then we had failed crops, and then we wanted to test out the planters. So like this year, one of our unexpected failures was our snow peas, beans, because they grow like weeds, but they completely died out within a month of them being planted.
We had so many snow peas last year, and just this year, no go. A secondary part of why we're planting some things in pots this year is simply space. I wanted too many plants.
And then you have the versatility, I guess, of moving it around. So, if it's something you're not sure how much light they need, you could keep an eye on it by having it in a pot. Is that right?
There's that too, for sure.
Oh,
well, also one other thing is I wanted apple trees, and so we have 2 apple trees, and we just don't have a place to put those apple trees. And you can increase the size of the pot incrementally by year, and so that we can control. And a few other things that we just don't have a place that we want to make permanent for them. We've put in pots.
Right. Also, and what is the rationale behind the raised beds versus in the ground? Is that to avoid weeds as well as other things?
well, I think that's a happy side effect. The fact that the ground here was so bad that there was no way to fix that without years of time. And just I don't know how much time it would have took to take it was basically ground up concrete, and then turning that back into actual soil would have been a ridiculous amount of work and effort. So it was basically the boxes are just enclosures for
dirt.
That's all it is. So we had to create an environment that seeds and seedlings will take root to, instead of trying to, because our initial herb garden was the crap that was there, with compost mixed in, thinking that it should be okay, and they struggled. It took twice as long for stuff to take root, and
except for the oregano.
That's
the oregano special.
We brought over dirt from our pet cemetery to bring it back to life. I don't know, but we had herbs. Flo bought some, like our first year, we put sage, and even chamomile, which is like a weed, didn't thrive like they should have because of the dirt. So that's where the decision came to create or build enclosures so that we could fill them up with dirt and bagged compost to at least get a starter.
Mm.
And now, in honesty, the areas where the boxes are probably do not need the box anymore, because now they've been there enough time, for long enough that the ground underneath has nutrients in it now.
They'll
So
probably
even within the 2 years that you've been starting the garden, you've been able to notice that the soil is getting better because of composting and watering and taking
well,
care of the ground. Have you?
yeah, well, I mean, just having the plant life on there is breaking up the ground, right? I mean, uh, and we've added so much dirt and compost to the top of almost every part of the garden as well. So yeah, it has made a difference, definitely. And also, I have pictures that I don't know if I sent of just buckets of rocks. I spent weeks just crawling around the garden, picking out big rocks and little rocks, all the rocks I could. I had buckets
Oh,
of different size rocks because I was OCD about it. I'm like, this size rock goes in that bucket. um,
did you sort them by shape as well? Find any
kind
good
of,
ones?
yeah, I did. The round ones I put in one bucket, and the sharp granite ones I put in another bucket. Cause
I love your attention to detail. That's awesome. We have Louise joining us from New Zealand. We have Molly joining us from the US. Are you in Cincinnati? Is that right, Molly? I forgot. It's wonderful to have you guys here talking about gardening in Japan. Now, Blaze and Flo, you have just done an amazing job. And Blaze, I see your corn is taller than you. Is that right?
It is, and I wish I could be a little prouder of that corn, but it has kind of let me down. And
Oh,
well,
no.
it's not all the corn's fault either. And we've tried, and that's one of the ones that we're still working on to get. Like this year's crop harvest is significantly better than what we had last year.
we moved its location. That one photo that you're looking at probably is last year's corn, and we only got like 2 ears of corn out of all that.
And we moved it this year, which tripled the amount of sun that it got, and they grew better. They're all, they were all a consistent height, um, and they all did fruit, and the corn was good.
Delicious.
But I don't think that it fruited as much as it should have.
Yeah, I want to know what we can do about the ants.
Yeah, and then we had a lot of aphids and ants just attacking it, and we tried all kinds of stuff. I sprayed it with various like neem oil, and there was something
lavender and soap.
Yeah, and then we tried diatomaceous earth for took care of the roly polies. That's it. It was great. If you don't like roly polies, I highly suggest you use some diatomaceous earth.
Roly polies are supposed to be really good for taking out heavy metals from the ground, and so that's great because probably with all the fill that we had here, there were probably a lot of heavy metals. But I think that we've had so many roly polies, and they would eat every single little young plant that we had, and that we had too many roly polies. The pill bugs, it was ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah. You need a cat. The cats love to play with those and just keep rolling them around.
No.
I know how you guys feel about cats. I know. Rebecca has also joined, says it looks amazing. I hope to see it in person sometime soon. And Molly says she's in Pittsburgh. So yeah. Have you guys, I mean, I know in the States now they're really suffering with the heat wave.
Oh God.
I noticed you had a beautiful aloe flower. Are you starting to think about more plants that need less water and can survive more in the heat? Is that something you're trying?
I'm thinking about two things. One, I mean, plants that can survive under extreme conditions. I think we're gonna end up with more extreme droughts and definitely possibly longer winters as well. So, what plants are both drought and cold tolerant?
Please. Yeah, I don't, as far as planning, it's come up, but the current layout does not support that yet. I mean, we still have a lot of water intensive plants, the peas, the cucumbers, the tomatoes.
But so that's why I ordered the goji berry and the gooseberry, because they do very well, it seems. they're new for us, but what I've read is they will do well under extreme conditions, not a lot of water and cold. So yeah, definitely thinking about climate change in terms of the garden.
I think that's always really good to think about. But of course, the things that do well in the heat, often they don't do well in the cold. So I saw you had a frost. Maybe moving plants in and out is really
Oh,
hard, but it'll help them survive. Molly says the more corn you grow, the more pollen there is. I go out and rub the ears of corn together to pollinate them.
all right.
Fellow corn grower.
Thanks, Molly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely better this year. And so we had how many plants in 1 meter square raised bed?
12.
Okay, yeah. Um, I don't. Yeah, they were I think as tight as we would want them to be. But we did not rub them. We also do have an issue with our squashes, our zucchinis having only male flowers. Is it or female
The
flowers?
females.
Female
I
flowers.
mean, it's not even to that issue. One like just melted.
Yeah, it was weird.
It just disappeared.
So some of the plants that we haven't had any real success with, we've had occasional success with, but not consistent success with, have been our zucchinis. I love squashes, and yeah, the zucchinis just up and die sometimes. We've got a couple good ones, and then nothing. Uh, and Also leafy vegetables of all things. I look at, I have leafy vegetable envy when I go online. I see people with all these bountiful harvests of vegetables that are salad greens, and we're not having a lot of luck with that. We'll put them in the shade. We'll put them in containers. We'll put them in the raised beds. Still, yeah, they bolt immediately, even in the shade. We're not sure why.
Yeah. Molly says the climate change has really changed what she grows and when she grows it. So
Mm.
I imagine that's true for a lot of gardeners. Let's talk about how you use all the things that grow well. So I'm showing a picture of some of the foods that you guys make. I know you're both very good cooks. Tempura, salads, pickles. What kinds of other foods are you making? Are you jamming anything?
Not yet.
We found a way to use most of it without having to. I mean, apparently our harvest is not big enough to the point where we have to consider canning yet.
I think we will with tomatoes.
We
this
want
year.
to. Yeah, tomatoes will probably start canning because somehow we got a little overzealous with. They're everywhere, and
And tomatoes really readily volunteer in places. And Blaise has a habit of just chucking ones that aren't any good just over his shoulders. Tomato plants are literally everywhere.
So they. But as for the use of them, I try to find a way to use it throughout the week. So
Blaise cooks fresh food every day. I may or may not be a good cook, but I basically no longer cook because Blaise is a trained cook, and he does it very fast, and he gets home before I do, and he loves me very much. So I
Hey, if you have
yeah,
anybody in the house willing to cook, I
right.
take that as a win.
Yeah, right.
Definitely. That's
Yeah, so
awesome.
yeah, I do post all of Blaise's food photos on Instagram at Iwakuni Kitchen. Um and Yeah, so you can see there what he does with the things that we have.
The gorgeous dishes I'm showing right now. Molly says, try growing zucchetta. It's a vining summer squash, though. I let it grow across my fence.
Huh.
Zucchetta.
Okay, I'll
Never
look
heard of
for it.
that. Yeah.
No.
Now,
Yeah.
speaking of things that you do, Flo,
Yeah.
you are very good at creating like beauty products, teas, those
Mm.
kinds of things. Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm showing pictures of some of the herbs or maybe lavender or other things in jars. What are you
Okay.
making there? Different kinds of tonics or something?
The face oil I currently use for night is calendula and lavender infused in a blend of oils that I chose for my face. Um, so I'll make facial oils. I'll make scrubs, like salt and sugar body scrubs. Um, I make the past year or so, I make gifts for people for Christmas. Um, uh, Bags of dried herbs for um, teas. And yeah, this year I want to make herb salt and some herb vinegars and infused oils as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think when I visited, you also had some homemade mosquito repellent that you had
Oh yeah.
made from herbs and things. You're
That
very
one I use
talented.
essential oil for, that I buy. But I've been making that blend for God, I don't know how long, ages and ages now. Uh,
It's cooling.
it
They
works briefly, but our bugs are bad.
they just
And I
drink it.
thought a little bit about sending you some of the photos I've taken of my bug bites. I got bitten by a buyo. Um, do you know what buyo are?
No, what is that?
Buyo are, I don't remember what the English word is, but they're little flies, and they cause swelling and fever. I've been badly bitten by buyo a few times now, but this one I had to go to the doctor for. It like made it so that I could not comfortably walk or sit. It was like a goiter on my leg, basically.
Oh
Um,
no.
it was just so swollen and so hot to the touch. And then after I got bitten on a Saturday after coming home from work, and then by that evening, it was just incredibly large and hot and painful. And then within a couple days, the center of it began to get hard. Like it was like this big, this bite, and like
Oh,
yeah, and it was like this far away from my
oh
thigh where
my
it should have been.
gosh.
And
I've
that was yeah.
I've heard of that happening with horse flies. They can have nasty cuts, but maybe midges? That sounds like midges or some kind of
If I
allergic
wasn't using my phone for this, I'd look it up right now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm showing on screen you use some kind of flower or herb to make this really beautiful light blue colored tea.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's common mallow. And that was really interesting. That tea got that beautiful blue green color, and then I didn't finish the pot, and by the time I left it there on the table, and I woke up in the morning, it was clear again, which I think is really interesting. Most teas, deepen in color, but by morning it was clear. And then there's another one I sent you that's globe amaranth, that turns the water pink, a really pretty pink.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. We have some ideas here. Molly says we have wolf spiders that bite, and I react the same way. And
Mm.
Rebecca says maybe sandflies.
Oh, that's it. Sandfly. Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Although, no, yeah, I don't know. The other day I'm on a Facebook group called Japan Gardening, and somebody posted a helpful link that was helpful enough that I didn't retain its actual information in my brain because I could click on it later. Uh, about buyo and what their name is in English. But yeah, you don't want to get bitten by buyo. Little kids, if they get bitten by buyo, can really end up with a bad fever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you. If I go in the garden to do any kind of work that I'm going to be out there for a little while, I know there's lots of bugs. I have one of those jackets that has the
Mhm.
fan in it.
Oh,
So
nice.
I look like the Michelin man, but it keeps me cool and I'm completely covered.
I'm gonna have to get one of those because honestly, like I don't mind weeding at all. But our garden is really overrun right now with weeds where they shouldn't be because where I don't want them. Um, because I'm not willing to go out there and sweat under my fully covered self. Yeah, I should get one of those fan
Well,
kits.
when I was volunteering cleanup for some of the landslides in Hiroshima, I bought that because I saw the construction workers were wearing it, and I was like, I wonder if they work. And it was about 5,000 yen, so not too bad, about $50. Definitely worth the investment.
Right. Thanks. Yeah. Um.
Rechargeable battery inside.
Oh,
Um,
right.
I'm
Okay.
I'm showing on screen the bright pink tea that you were talking about, and your little tractor, your little rolly tractor that saves your back, and
Knees. Yes.
your
Knees and back.
bath bomb.
Oh, yes.
Your Yeah, those are great.
Thank you.
Rebecca says peppermint oil is really good at keeping the sandflies away.
Right. I mean, I know the oils that I can use. I do. But if you're out there in this heat, you're sweating them off. And in order to be out in the garden for it to be at all productive, I'm out there for an hour to 5 hours, honestly. And I just can't keep reapplying. Um, the best thing is simply to cover your skin,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah.
And Molly is saying as well, rosemary is a good repellent for flies. Um,
The Katari Senko, the Japanese, coiled
Mosquito
incense.
coils.
Yeah, those work really well, actually. If we have them play, but it's just a matter of place. I don't know. I guess I have to decide I'm going to go out there, decide to fully cover up, and then decide to place them or ask Blaise to place them around the garden. Like we have 6 of them, like six, like corner, middle, front.
It's just fog in the yard.
Yeah, I
uh,
that's the only way to make sure you don't get bitten.
wow, that's wild. Tell us about your little scooter. How does that help your back? I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not using it so much these days because honestly, like, there's so much growth everywhere. I was using that a lot when I was picking rocks out of the ground. But instead of bending over, you're sitting on there and the seat swivels. So you can scoot forward and swivel and scoot forward and swivel and be that much closer to the ground without crouching or kneeling.
Wow. Okay. How about the bath bombs? Are you putting some of these beautiful flowers, dried flowers, in the bath bombs? That would be fun.
Yeah, I made those before we had flowers. So if I do that again, I would definitely, I think, add some flowers to be pretty. But there's a question. I like bath bombs, and a lot of bath bombs do have a lot of stuff in it. Like, do people just strain that stuff out of their bath? What, like, it makes a mess. What do you do with
What
that
is
stuff?
in it? How do you make it? What's it made of?
It's made out of basically baking soda and citric acid. No, that's salt. Baking soda and citric acid
Wow.
and water. I just had a water and a
And
mold.
then pressed together for a
Yeah,
while?
those were made in a muffin tin. But the muffin tin ones, you really can't. You're supposed to. I mean, it's a fast way, but you can't physically press it, or I can't press it hard enough, consistently enough that you end up with a nice hard pressed bath bomb. I have another little plastic contraption that you use, but that makes one round bath bomb at a time, and it has to sit there for an hour. So that's really labor intensive and time intensive. Um, when I've looked up how to make bath bombs with other molds, nice molds that provide pressure are actually fairly pricey, and I can see why because the alternatives are really ineffective.
When you were talking about having trouble growing like salads, but it
Mm.
looks like you did really well with basil, oregano, and other like herbs. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Our herb garden is good. I think we're good with our herb garden.
Yeah, I think we our first year of basil we struggled because we didn't know how to prune it properly, and then from there on, once I figured out what part to prune, we we harvest a lot of basil every year, and then because it gotta wait, once you'll know once your basil plant gets to the point where it's ready to produce. It's a slow growing plant at first, and then once it hits the point where it shows the coming of the first flower or that bud, from there on out, every time you start pruning it, it just doubles in size. And
So you're just pinching off at a juncture.
yeah, and if you do that in the right time and every day,
Basically every day.
it'll double in size. I mean,
Well, no, I mean, size to be clear is bushiness, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it gets to be the point where if we needed 3 cups of basil to make pesto at any given time, it's there.
We're really happy with our bay laurel tree. The bay, like you have to buy bay leaves, right? Why? We will never have to buy bay leaves again. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It's a lot of leaves.
It's yeah.
It took a couple years, but it's significantly bigger now.
Can you smell it? Like when the wind passes through it? It seems like your herb garden would have a beautiful smell. No?
Not really.
No.
Oh,
well,
the dill is strong.
When the flowers are in bloom, you can smell the pollen, definitely.
Yeah, but as for the actual herb smells, I don't smell the basil or.
I mean, if you touch it at all.
Yeah,
if you touch any of it, then yes, you'll definitely smell it. If you brush against it, if you pull a weed near it, yeah.
But the dill, I can smell it.
I lost you guys. Can you hear me? Oh, you guys are frozen. Are you there? Uh-oh. Frozen. Hello. I'll show some of the other beautiful garden photos. Can you guys hear? So growing cauliflower. Woohoo! Yeah. Thanks, Louise. We can't hear you guys. If you can hear us. Yeah, great growing, right? Molly says, I have one of those garden scooters. They're great for saving your knees and back. Definitely. I see a lot of gardeners in Japan using like small stools, like you would see in the hot baths in the onsens, and moving that around. But having a scooter, something that you don't have to stand up and lift and move, it just moves with you. That would be a lot easier, right? Are you guys there? I can hear something. Yeah, so rewarding to harvest and eat. Definitely, Louise. Are you growing anything in your garden in New Zealand? You're going into winter now, so it must be a little bit more tricky. Onion Muffin says, do you have a walking cane? So maybe a cane is also helpful to save your back, right? You too. And Flo moves a bit. Yeah. Looks like we've lost them. I wanted to hear more about Flo's beautiful Christmas designs. I know Christmas seems a long way off, but sometimes when we're hot, it's nice to look at Christmas things and feel cooler. She made this beautiful, like, natural Christmas tree with green peppers and red tomatoes. Do you see in the top left? And then a rosemary, what is it called? That you hang on your door. I'm having a mental block for a wreath, a rosemary wreath. And then she, like she said before, she was packaging up some of the dried herbs and dried flowers for tea and giving that as Christmas presents. So lovely. Looks like they're trying to join again. So hopefully they can. Yeah, wreath. Thank you, Louise.
Are we back on?
I can hear you. Yay!
Yay. So I just got it on the iPad. Yeah, the iPad app.
Okay. Great.
So I am putting, give me a second here, tripod for that. Okay.
That's
three
awesome.
devices later.
Yeah. We had a few problems getting connected initially. I'm glad you guys got back on. I'm introducing your beautiful Christmas, like you said, for Christmas, the packets of dried flowers and different herbs that you gave people. Also the green peppers with the mini red tomatoes, like a mini Christmas tree. The rosemary wreath that you did. That must have smelled wonderful, the rosemary wreath.
The people that I gave them to said that they used the rosemary, and so there was rosemary and thyme and marjoram in some of them as well. I mean, one of the things about doing that is I love shopping, but it's, I do like the idea of just the love and heart that goes into making something and giving it to somebody, but also not buying something exactly. Just not buying stuff, right? When you give gifts.
It comes with the personal touch. It's fantastic. And this is stuff that you just can't really buy in the stores very easily. And we know that it comes from your garden, so it's more special.
Thanks.
So what did you have a real bounty of, or what are you expecting to have a wonderful harvest of soon, as we're coming up to
So
the
far,
height of growing
cucumbers.
season? Cucumber.
Cucumbers are doing well.
Our cucumbers are ridiculous this year. We moved them again. So the same concept. We built a trellis and I had to climb up it, and but I think the location that we have it now doesn't get as much sun as it did last year, and I think that is preventing the ground from drying out because they're so water intensive. So that's helping them. Tomatoes.
We're gonna have buckets of tomatoes.
Yeah, last year we had a pretty good tomato harvest, but it was late. Like there wasn't a lot of.
We were harvesting tomatoes until December.
Yeah, but we didn't start until September.
Really?
Yeah, we were getting one or two. We weren't getting the full bunches on the vines.
Oh, we started, but they didn't start.
Yes, but we didn't get fruit until September.
Yeah.
Now, the first flowering or fruiting of the plant is huge bunches of every type of tomato that we have planted. So apparently the location did make a difference because it's the same type of soil compost that we use, and then this year I think it's just location that changed it.
That's awesome. I went to a great cafe yesterday, just past Kude at the beach, and they are doing this beautiful like ratatouille, and she's using all the local tomatoes from the Kudahashi area, which apparently is really famous, and also white eggplant, which is also from the local area, which is so unique, right? And it was so delicious. And I said, what is the umami? Like, what is your depth of flavor? Because it was vegan. So I knew she wasn't using fish or chicken stock or anything. And she said it was miso. She's using miso as the base. And it was just so delicious. So I've been putting miso in everything too. That's my latest secret ingredient. Have you found some compost treasures? Like from your compost area, has anything grown up that you didn't expect?
Potatoes.
What?
Potatoes, and that shit was avocados.
We had one nice avocado tree for a while. It didn't survive this past winter.
Well, we didn't know how. We didn't know you're supposed to keep cutting it. But there was a question up there about yellow and orange tomatoes. We do have both. They're both the smaller, sweet plum type tomatoes. And they are fruiting now. We just harvested the other day. That was our first harvest. They came out, the first handful of them. They're actually very sweet. They're very nice.
We got sugar plum, black cherry, the yellow, the orange.
And you've got, I'm showing okra and green peppers and eggplant. Is that all recent or is that from last summer?
Oh, the eggplant is both. We've, or no, if it's year 2 photos, it's going to be the end of last year and not this year yet. They're not ready yet. Oh no, we've had 2 eggplants.
No, we've had a good bit of eggplants. We've had
this year.
Yeah, we've had four. The next batch.
Okay.
The first flowering, we got a couple off of there, the early flowers, and then right now we have 3 eggplant plants, and each one of them has 4 to 6 eggplants on them. So it's a significant better harvest than last year. Once again, that was a different location too. That one has less sun than last year. Last year we put it in full sun all day, and apparently it didn't like that.
Yeah, let's talk about your flowers, because you guys have such gorgeous variety of flowers. Is that all from seed, or you buy it from the garden center? Variety.
Those are mostly maybe 2/3 seedlings and 1/3 seed, I would say. Yeah.
So from the seeds, we have a lot to work on when it comes to seeds. I think it's just a little bit more experience that we're going to need under that one. Certain seeds we have no problems; they come right up. But apparently we can't keep them alive when it comes to leafy plants, and then when it comes to other vegetables, I had a really hard time getting peppers to
flowers, baby.
I understand that, but I mean, when it comes to the flowers, we had the same issue. She had a whole thing of bergamot didn't come through.
So frustrating.
And then we had other plants that she planted and didn't even realize that she forgot that she planted them because it took forever for them to germinate. So
the echinacea's coming up though, so I'm happy about that.
So when it comes to flowers, the seeds, it's kind of hit and miss at the moment.
The Nigella that I've got in the front garden, it's gone to seed now. That was from seed. I can't think. Yeah,
are you
various
buying
things.
seeds from abroad or just from Japan? Are you saving any from previous year's flowers that you're reusing?
Definitely saving some. I'll save some of the. I mean, hollyhock really readily self-seeds, but I'll go ahead and save a lot of those and give those away if anybody wants some hollyhock flowers. And the mallow also, I'm pretty sure will readily self-seed. And they're massive seeds too, so they're really easy to keep track of. The coriander, especially the cilantro, our really good cilantro crop this year, and that all came up from seeds that I'd saved from last year. We know that they grow well here, and I wasn't sure, so when we had sown them in February inside, I just put a bunch in the pots, and I think every single one of them came up. It was stupid. There were just so many little cilantro seedlings, and then we planted those outside, and those were worth saving the seeds for.
Are you doing any sunflowers? Because I saw a news story about all the sunflowers that have been coming up everywhere in Texas, and I know you're from Texas, Flo, and I thought of you.
All right. Yeah. I probably will do sunflowers sometime, but you can eat the seeds, yes. But I guess they're pretty, they're cheerful, but besides the seeds, I can't really do anything else with them. Whereas with the mallow, I could possibly try dyeing. With the hollyhock, also I can try dyeing. I could make little arrangements that I like, and also the teas. They have medicinal benefits as flowers. I'll probably try growing a sunflower sometime just because, but with the space that we have, I kind of want things to add something that big to have more than one purpose.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that because you've got these beautiful colors coming from the flower teas. Do you ever do any clothes or fabric dyeing? That would be the obvious next step.
Well, I just bought some, I don't remember what kind of alum it is, but some alum to help use as a mordant to help the dye stick. I've got the mallow plants, I think, are nearing the end of their season. They're just the stems, the trunks, trunks are so massive and they're falling over into their own weight and it doesn't look pretty anymore. So I'll probably just harvest all those and pull those out and we'll start growing something else there for now. And so I'll have a massive amount of mallow flowers, way more tea than I think I or any of my friends will want to drink. And so I'm going to try dyeing something. I've got some old cotton shirts. I can just, play around and see what happens.
Yeah, that's exciting because I've heard from Cowdy, Thomas's wife, the organic farmer, and she has a textile company, and she talks about using persimmon leaves for dyeing and lots of different kinds of herbs or flowers. It'd be great to do.
Her colors are gorgeous. Yeah, if she does a workshop sometime, I would ask Blaise to drive us out there.
Right. Yeah. Maybe, well, now the vaccines are coming in. Maybe we can start doing things in person again.
Right. Yeah. We're both happily vaccinated. Just FYI. Yay.
Oh, yay. Congratulations. Molly says French marigolds planted around and between the veggies will help repel aphids and attract pollinators. My grandma taught me about that. Thanks, Molly.
Thank you, Molly. Yes. I keep telling Blaise that. He doesn't seem to like French marigolds very much. I don't know why.
Yes. Well,
So thank you so much, Molly, because
we
maybe
need
he'll
to,
actually do
'cause
it.
apparently we need to, because there's a lot of aphids, and I apparently like them less than I do the flowers.
Yeah, he always calls my flowers that don't actually have a purpose weeds. Yeah, anyway, I think it's about time that we actually do start growing the French marigolds. But it's funny though, when we first moved in, I did plant some French marigolds with our tomatoes, and they just didn't grow, which is really odd because I had French marigolds growing up like everywhere. They do grow so easily usually. I don't know why those didn't work. Maybe our I don't know. Anyway, we'll try again.
Great. Well, we only have about less than 5 minutes. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to give advice to people trying to garden out there or trying to start a garden?
I think just grow stuff. Just what?
Yeah, no, if whatever seems right. If to be honest with you, the only thing that I would practice is learning how to stake your vegetables.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because if you don't stake them, like last year we grew this black cherry tomato, and I thought I staked it properly, but I couldn't keep up with the plant, and then it looked like something from a bad Lego thing. It was just, and then I had to use other things to hold the actual support. It was not okay.
It wasn't pretty. It worked, but yeah.
And then you learn that you can manipulate plants a certain way to, you not only stake it well, but you can manipulate the plants around it, and it's not just beans and climbing vegetables that you can choose. I'm doing it this year with the tomatoes, where I have them actually wrapped around the poles, so that even though they're growing, the room that they're taking up a lot less room. Mm. So right now, if I let them grow straight up, they'd easily be over 7 foot tall. Right now, I'm keeping it down to about 5.
I mean, that's really important. It's like gardening architecture, right? Building the above ground planters, building the trellises like you guys have been doing, but also making sure that your plants are supported so they grow the right way. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, and then so last year we had extra tomato plants, and I put them in front of our current monstrosity of an elderberry bush. Mm. And that one had the supports on that one was, I thought it was supportive. It was not. It was just there.
Well, and those black cherry tomatoes just produced so much fruit that they were so heavy on the ends that they needed a lot of support. And ended up making the elderberry grow funny because it was trying to reach out through the big tomato plant.
So, but I think if anything, the staking, I took it lightly, and my suggestion is don't.
Well, it worked out anyway.
Yes, but
because I'm going to give the opposite advice. I would say, like, I was a little bit hesitant at the beginning, like, okay, I have to follow this idea, or this can't be planted with that. And pretty much it seems to me that everything will grow at least, it's worth trying, right? I mean, if you're not on a super tight budget, it's worth trying. Don't worry if things don't seem perfect. Try it, and then you can tweak as you go along, I would say. And then learn from that yourself versus, because all the videos online and stuff.
Yeah, you guys told me last time you were spending about $100 a month or $100 a week at some point, getting all your planters prepared and ready to go with all the dirt. There were a lot of costs. Have the costs come down over the second year?
Yes, definitely.
Significant. Yeah. That's all. I think that a lot of that is basically initial cost. Like I said earlier, we didn't have any dirt. We had broken concrete. So by building the raised boxes, we had to fill them with the compost, and then we didn't do it all at once. So that's where the monthly cost came in. But the monthly cost is significantly lower for maintenance now. You know, a couple bags of compost that we use, or a big bag of planter seed soil, or fertilizer. Lately, we've been getting stuff for to help with infestations. But other than that, the cost is significantly lower, and we don't need to go every month. It's just kind of
NAFCO is kind of our favorite store. So when it's 5 times point day, we're like, okay, we're going to NAFCO, see what they got.
In that case, she's just looking for something to buy.
Right, that's my shopping, that and books these days.
But it's kind of nice too at the local garden center, because you can see things that they're selling, like little sprouts and stuff, and you're thinking, oh, can that grow here? Like something maybe
right,
you didn't
exactly.
think
That's how we
of,
started.
right?
Yeah.
Well, it helps with, you know, because you have a lot of professional gardeners and farms that request, you know, certain things in bulk. So when certain things are in season, they let you know. And that, like, we didn't know at the time it was with garlic or potatoes. I was like, oh, I didn't know you can plant garlic now. I mean, it didn't grow for us, but technically it was planting season, and it was a letdown on that one.
Our ginger's doing well.
Ginger's doing well.
Yeah.
But our garlic did not. It did not want to stay.
So yes, it can be a way to learn, right? To see, okay, they're selling this now. It looks like we should probably be planting it. And if you do go on a regular basis, so you can be like, okay, they had that in the store 2 months ago, and now there are like 5 plants left. I'm not buying that now, because clearly it's at the end of its planting season.
My favorite purchase from a garden center was, I was feeling a bit hungry, and at the moment when I bought it, the strawberries in the store in the packet were like 700, 800 yen. And when I saw in the garden center, they had a strawberry plant with strawberries on it for 400 yen. And I thought, that is a bargain. Buy that plant, eat those strawberries, and then maybe more will come. That was
right. That's awesome. How'd that go for you? Do you have a strawberry plant still?
I do not. I do not have a strawberry plant anymore. I think it was just those strawberries, and it did not survive. But it was cheaper than what was in the store, so it was worth a try.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say we had about
Go ahead.
We had like a 3-week period where Flo was getting fresh strawberries for breakfast every day.
Wow.
Yeah, they're growing again. It's coming around again. Yeah.
They look beautiful. I'm showing them in the photo. Absolutely gorgeous strawberries you got. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. That was wonderful insights about the gardening world. We'll have to have our next catch up next year on your 3rd year anniversary.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us, Joy. Thanks for everybody else for tuning in. And if anybody is in Japan and wants some seeds or to do seed exchanges, I'd be really into that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you can reach out. I'll put the links below. Flo is very active on Twitter and Instagram. So you can
Instagram, yeah.
Instagram is better. Okay. Yeah.
Although wonderful. Twitter, I'm fine. I'm just not active. I'll respond.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Thank you, Flo and Blaise. Keep up the good work. And I hope you don't get bitten too much.
No,
stay safe.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.